the theater. I am your anchor, Haley Dallian.
And I'm your other anchor, Sean Francis.
And because we're so excited to be back here in person, we have compiled the local, national, and world news you may have missed.
You're welcome, Grand Rapids. This is NewsFlash. Ding dong. Our top story tonight. The world all around breathed a sigh of relief when the news of remnants of the Chinese rocket that were reportedly falling back towards the Earth uncontrolled safely plunged into the Indian Ocean. On Sunday morning, Chinese state-run paper Global Times published an editorial accusing the Western media coverage and panic as an attempt by the US and NASA to smear the Chinese space program, which seems a tad bit defensive. It's like if the Trump administration had responded to worldwide accusations that its response to the COVID pandemic was slower and not taken seriously enough, and saying these criticisms are an attempt to smear the actual work being done, and rather than admitting shortcomings that could have been handled better. Oh wait, that's exactly what they did. Oh, sorry, yeah, carry on, China.
A Cass County man towing a golf cart and other items stolen from a barn crashed into a mobile home during the police chase and then proceeded to hide in a nearby shed. And there's no joke here. We just wanted to reiterate that that happened 1 hour south of us.
Yeah.
So maybe we should cut out this whole snooty northern elitism thing and just admit that Michigan is basically North Florida.
Sorry to break it to you. The city of Benicia, California has a unique plan to encourage youth vaccinations, announcing that 16 to 24-year-olds will receive a $25 gift card to a local pizzeria of their choice once they receive their second dose. This new phase to combat vaccine hesitancy is being called vaccine negotiations, which, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, it sounds like we're basically offering the same rewards to prevent death that Pizza Hut did for reading a dozen books back in the day. So we've already lost the high ground as far as negotiations go, I think. Grand Rapidians in particular already got their shot just out of the goodness of their hearts. May be a bit upset about this somewhat shafting, getting a sticker, free parking, and the chance to see the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile in person. Tough break, guys. Maybe we should have held out.
Despite the pledges made by various world governments to limit carbon emissions, the Climate Action Tracker released a study saying that it is not enough and that the average global temperatures are still rising. Unrelated, leather sales are up in Australia, as well as used car trades and new dome construction.
What is that all? Oh, gotcha.
The Climate Action Tracker also stated that if we don't get our act together, we aren't going to get our pizza party.
Those dang pizza parties, they keep on.
Yeah.
In grave news, private citizens are banding together to preserve the Oakwood Cemetery in Allegan. Friends of Allegan Oakwood Cemetery, or the FAOC, have plans to restore broken headstones, clean and maintain the grounds, as well as offering tours to encourage community bonding and learning. One member of the FAOC is quoted as saying, "It is a shame such a historic site has fallen by the wayside. Now, this is top secret, but when we say full restoration, we mean it. We've gathered the top necromancers in the country to bring all of these people back, just so it can be like the good old days. It's gonna be a graveyard smash." Wait, is that a microphone?
The Independent Oversight Board upheld Facebook's suspension of former President Trump. The board did take Facebook to task for the indefinite timing of the suspension and the failure to clearly identify and enforce the standards. The Oversight Board used the very public ruling to overshadow other controversial rulings like "Your Baby Ugly," Facebook posts resulting in banning, and people who just mistakenly use the crying laughing emoji as crying and overuse it. Those people are not allowed to vote anymore. For good reason.
Yeah. Figure it out, guys. Michigan released reopening guidelines that tied capacity restriction lifting to vaccination rates. 2 weeks after 60% have gotten their first dose, sports stadiums and banquet halls could increase capacity to 25%. Gyms can go up to 50, and an 11 p.m. curfew on indoor dining will be lifted. 2 weeks after hitting 65, all indoor capacity limits will be lifted. 2 weeks after reaching 70%, about 5.6 million residents aged 16 and up is the benchmark there. State's order on masks and gatherings will end.
But they went even further, promising that at 75% vaccinations, no more sneeze guards at salad bars.
Yep. At 80%, restaurants will feed patrons by hand.
87%, bullies can legally wet willy you.
90% reenacting the spaghetti scene from Lady and the Tramp will be back on all menus, whether they have spaghetti or not.
95%, nursing home kissing booths.
Yep, and finally, in the extremely unlikely event that we reach 100% vaccinations, state-mandated key parties.
We can all get behind that.
Fingers crossed, guys.
The Department of Natural Resources recently announced that the swans that were found dead in Waterford Lake earlier this year were most likely caused by a parasite-caused disease, rather than previous assumption that the birds were poisoned. Oh, thank God, said everyone who thought that, or didn't even consider that poisoning swans wasn't happening. Oh, it's just a disease-causing swan parasite. Then again, this does seem like a misdirect from the fact that this man was recently released from prison. Keep an eye out. But luckily, however, Pfizer is apparently already working on a swan vaccine for this disease.
Bill and Melinda Gates announced the end to their 27-year marriage this past week, and while so far it appears to be a fairly amicable split, they have already begun the process of dividing their belongings. So Melinda is getting Zune, Clippy, Xbox, MS Paint, and Office and LinkedIn, while Bill is going to get Spider Solitaire, Encarta, Zoo Tycoon, Bing, Skype, and MSN. Tough break, Bill. After their announcement, they played their wedding song. Love that.
Before the news broke, though, we received word that Bill and Melinda took malaria out to Culver's and assured it that even though we stopped loving each other, we'll never stop trying to eradicate you.
Yep. Gotta stay together for the kids sometimes. 3 scientists from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Conservation Office brought a 7-foot-long, 240-pound sturgeon in the Detroit River, believed to be about 100 years old. A fish this impressive is believed to be equivalent to roughly 100 Tinder profiles.
Yeah, that's an exact equation right there. In world news, a woman in Mali gave birth to 9 babies. She was only expecting 7, but the hospital was running a Groupon, thankfully. 1 for every day of the week, plus a couple backups.
That's just good, economics right there. In today's edition of Try Before You Buy, 2 Guys Brewing just released, and it's backstage, I'm going to grab it real quick. They just released their new Get Fed Scotch Ale. And here it is. I've got a secret sample right here. Yes, a barrel-aged. The beer is actually named after the brewer's son, Bentley, to be enjoyed by his guests at his baby shower. So let's give this a taste, all right? Okay, cheers. Ugh. Woo!
Well,
Yeah, that's strong. I'm gonna say buy it.
buy it. The verdict is buy it.
Yeah, a little caramel flavor. Yeah, malty. That's great. Buy that. Hey, Lou, you wanna do the next story?
Oh, yeah. A New Mexico man found thousands of bees in his back seat while grocery shopping. First of all, how terrifying. They had to be removed by local authorities. And man, these viral marketing stunts for Honey Nut Cheerios are getting a little out of hand these days.
Get bent. That's kind of a messed up name for, like, the name of beer named after your kid. I don't think that guy's a good dad.
You okay?
Sounds familiar.
Alright. Hey,
In comments tonight, everybody.
Yeah, we would also like to thank all of our writers for NewsFlash this week. And if you'd like to see your name up here, you can submit your jokes to comedyoutletmondays@gmail.com with the subject line NewsFlash Tips.
Yes, and you can follow Comedy Outlet Mondays on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. You can rewatch videos from past shows, get notified of lineups for future shows. You can find our submission forms so you can get your own act on our stage and learn about other ways to get involved. Grand Rapids, you're welcome. Newsflash! Woo!